Good morning. Today we are going to talk on effective business communication. Why communication is important for a human being? Because communication conveys the message or intention to the other person what they want to communicate. So the communication is absolutely essential or inevitable in business, mainly because we often exchange ideas, offers, quotations, or sign a contract, explain the technical details, things like that. So it is inevitable business. So we are trying to say how we can make our communication much more effective so that the receiver receives the entire communication with the intention of the sender. Here, I'm talking more of communication language, where sender is a person who sends a message and receiver is a person who receives a message. In case of a conference, the speaker is the sender and the person or the people who are listening to the speaker are the receivers. In case of one-to-one communication, and the person or salesperson who talks about the product or services is a sender and the prospective buyer is a receiver. Okay. So there are 5 important components in communication to be more effective. We call it as 7 C's in effective communication. So this all 5 components must be in our communication. Let us check from today onwards whether we have all 7 components in our communication. First thing is completeness of the communication. That means nothing is missed out. Second one is conciseness. It should be very to the point. We should not talk blah blah. We should not talk much more details in the communication. It should be very short. And it consideration. Consideration means whom we are talking is very important. We need to talk in the same language or the level at which we are addressing the people. You're talking to the workman, you talk like a person who can communicate the contents to the workman level. You should talk to the engineer, then at engineer's level. If you talk to the management, to the management level. You cannot talk in the other way around. Concreteness, that means very specific to the issues we need to talk. Clarity. Clarity is very important because many times people get confused with the exhibiting knowledge in the importance of communication. You try to exhibit it, like we can have a good example. Mr. Sasi Taru is a great communicator. But the way at which communicates, only learned people can understand. Other people find it difficult to understand what he communicates. Probably his intention is to communicate to the Westerners and other people who thinks that they are great. So hats off to Sashikaru. He may be correct from his point of view. But when it comes to us, when you're communicating to ordinary business people, we need to communicate very simple. We need to respect the people, that means audience, and we have to have the courtesy in while communicating, while exhibiting all the things. And you should not talk something out of your head. You should talk completely facts and figures. And recommended is to give the source in case if you have it. If you don't have the correct features, say that approximately. Don't give the wrong figure and call it as a correct communication. So when a complete communication happens means if it is a clear message and it is a correct message and complete message and precise message and reliable message and sender's courtesy makes it as a complete communication. Nowadays, we are using many communication methods. It can be, okay, broadly it is divided into verbal and non-verbal. In verbal, there are something portion of it comes to the written communication. In non-verbal, something comes with the visual communications. Okay, we are going to see how much percentage of communication of these all four types also. What is effective communication? That means you need not repeat it again and again. If you communicate at single stroke, it should be understandable for the receiver. So here, if you see in the picture, and the lady is sitting with a scarf on the table, when somebody is exhibiting or showing their hand, waving at the people, she is staring at him. What the perception of the person who is waving at her, maybe she may be not interested in my communication. That's the way she is not showing her hand. So this is a non-verbal communication. So like this, we are going to see everything over here. So to start with it, I will start with a small story. After a big match, many people surrounded Mr. Pele, who is a football giant, and congratulated him for his performance. One 7-year-old boy pulled his t-shirt and drew his attention towards him and told, "I am your diehard fan." Mr. Pele was extremely happy and he said thanks and he kept on signing the autograph. After a few moments, again, this boy got excited and told, "I knew how many matches you had played so far and how many goals you made it in each game." By this, hearing to the boy's answer, Pele was extremely happy and took the boy in his hands and said, "Thank you so much. At this age, very happy to note that." And he kept on signing the autograph. Now, the boy said proudly, "I also know your past records." And then Pele could not control his emotions and he kissed on his cheeks and said that, "I'm very proud of you, gentleman." Then he was telling like this. Now, the boy pulled him, that means moved his chin towards him and told that, and he, now the boy looked at the eyes of Mr. Pele and said, "I will break all your records one day." See how effective is the communication, the 7-year-old boy. The person is Maradona, football star. Literally, this is a communication. Here I played a small trick. What is a small trick is, here if you see it, Mr. Pele and Maradona are not the real people. That means the conversation did not happen between Pele and Maradona. But why I used Pele and Maradona is to make it more effective to all of you. Here, the real thing is happened between Mr. Brown and O.J. Simpson. The real incident, the same words repeated by Mr. O.J. Simpson to Mr. Brown. Both are very big legend at that earlier times. Probably none of us may be knowing about them. So that's the reason I just changed the names and Pele and Maradona. So this is called effective communication. Now we need to understand what portion of communication is going to be verbal and what is in written, what is in visual, and what is in non-verbal. So broadly, we divide verbal communication and non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is the major, approximately 65 to 70%, which includes visual communication also, comes in non-verbal communication. In verbal communication, approximately 30 to 35%, which includes verbal communication also. So in business, we talk one-to-one meeting or probably attending a seminar or answering a seminar in the technical podium or asking questions in front of so many people, clarification, so many things happen. So everything comes under verbal communication. So what is non-verbal communication? Non-verbal communication is the most important thing which many people miss it. Great salesmen are the people who reads non-verbal communication is a great way. Oh, if you read a book called How to Read a Man Like a Book, that's a good book on non-verbal communication. Here, the gestures and the proximity the buyer and receiver is having it, facial expressions, the tone and amplitude of the voice of the sender and receiver. What is the body language he is keeping it? And what is the eye contact? And what is the artifact? What is artifact is, it's the fact that talking about the conveying it through means of pictures and presentations. Here I use a lot of artifacts. That means my communication, I want to impress, I want to convey the content. So what I'm doing is I am having a lot of pictures instead of putting a lot of words. Because in mind mapping methodology, or the people or human mind will absorb more of pictures and colors rather than words. So I'm using that technology that we call artifacts. Visual communication is playing a huge important role nowadays. Like, you must see the marketing videos and brand stories, capabilities videos, illustrations, visual identity, 2D, 3D animations, product videos, demo videos, mm, animated infographics, or virtual reality. So this all comes under visual communication. Because if you see advertisement, maybe 20-25 seconds, in 20-25 seconds, you have to create interest. That is the purpose of advertisement. So that comes under visual communication. Nowadays, like, you might have seen everywhere, like, people talk on reels. They don't make a detailed talk. They will give a small reel which grab the attention of the people, and the people look out for that product. So that's becoming more and more popular, the visual communication. In written communication, many things we write whatever we want to write. That's not correct. We should not write whatever we want to write. We should write what customer want to read. I'm repeating it. We should write what customer want to read. Simple example, many of us will talk about our product or services and tell our products are superior, our products are advantages, our products are better than that. All these things you say. But if you see from customer point of it, whether it is needed, absolutely not. Customer is not interested in reading your product superiority from you. You should rather talk in your written communication, what are the benefits customer is going to get it. Many times we don't give the benefit. We keep on giving about the features of our product. We give a product specifications, all these things. That's wrong. So how to write a proper letter? It can be a technical report, it can be an offer, it can be anything else. First, you have to identify your role, identify the key phrases, identify the audience. To which level of the people whom you are going to address. If you are writing to the managing director, you should talk about cost reduction, you should talk about profitability increase. You should, if you are writing to the technical head, you should talk about the reliability, you should talk about the productivity. Like this, I need to do it. So prepare an outline. That outline, you organize the purpose, thoughts, and approach the outline. Like what we can talk about it, you can talk about the introduction, what is the main body where we are going to talk about, what components you want to talk, and how you want to control. So create a draft response. Okay, but be ensured that you are talking about the same product or services throughout the letter. And don't give unrelevant information. You give relevant information in your communication. And as far as possible, be direct and concise. Don't give a long statement which is neither quantifiable nor qualifiable. Okay. So before sending the written communication, I sincerely request all of you to read this communication and check the spelling mistakes and grammar mistakes, and avoid using jargons and any other technical terms which is not possible for the receiver to understand it. In verbal communication, there are three components which makes a huge impact. What is the impact is, one is called what is communicated. That's only 7% is impact is created by what is communicated. And who is communicating? It is 22%. 22% impact is created. Who is communicating? And how it is communicated is the major thing which talks about 71%. Suppose if you take it on a sender and receiver, we call it as a source and receiver here. The sender, what generally does it is first understand the receiver, that means audience, and assuming that for easy understanding, a sender is a uh, person from India and receiver is a person from Vietnam. Since this presentation is made for Vietnam people, so I'm saying like this. Okay, the sender is from India and receiver is from Vietnam. So and the sender, that is me, cannot understand Vietnamese language. So what I think in my mother tongue. My mother tongue is Tamil. So when I think it in my mother tongue, what I want to communicate, I encode that communication into English and create a message. So that is called encoding. After creating a message, I choose a channel. It can be verbal or it can be over Zoom like this, what we are doing it, and send it to the people who are sitting at Vietnam. So the Vietnam receives what he receives the message in English, converts it into, that is called decoding, into Taiwan, what is Vietnamese language, okay, and then understands. So this is how the communication happens. So after he understands, it is responsibility of the sender and receiver to get a feedback whether he received the same communication with the same intended purpose by the sender. Then only the communication is more effective. So if you look at this, many times we focus more on what is communicated. Very, very few impact it will create. If you see major people who are extremely successful, they are extremely good in how it is communicated. The voice, tone, pass, etc. Many things. There is no need to be talking too much, because if you create an interest, that person will understand himself and learn a lot of things. So again, the body position, how he is going to stand, how he is going using the hands. Many times people make a mistake about business people, because most of the people are engineers, and the wrong way of communicating is open up the laptop and keep reading the presentation. That is not presentation. That is, I call it in a very simple term, it's vomiting. Just seeing the thing and vomiting it. That's not communication. So that is not you should do. You should never look at the slides. Now I am looking at the slides and talking to you because I am using a Zoom international platform where I am not able to see all of you and I am communicating through this. But in one-to-one communication, most of the business communications are one-to-one, they are one-to-many, where you need to talk to the audience. You need to keep an eye on the audience and have control. Presentation should go at the back. You should not look at the presentation and talking to the slides people will do. That is horrible, much more. Talking to the slides in the sense is you turn back and talk to the slide, looking at the slides, reading out. Nobody want to see your back, but many times make mistakes. Most of the engineers are not trying to be a communicator or professional communicator will talk like that. But no professional communicator or no effective communicator will talk to the slides or will talk to the slide or the screen. So I will give you some tips how to improve your communication. Many times we think that by communicating, we need to talk. That's 100% wrong. When you are going to be a communicator with your customer, in business communication I'm talking about, you need to be a major portion, you need to be a listener. Yeah, we call it as active listening. The moment you are an active listener, the person who wants to hear about your product and services will be very happy to share his thoughts and ideas. So you get a lot of clues. So that's the reason I say that you need to be an active listener. So active listening means what? How to increase your active listening? First, body language. So you lean yourself and show that you are attentive to the person. So the person or your customer talks to you from his heart. And understand. If you don't understand, you say, excuse me, I am not able to understand this point. Then that is the way you can do it. But when he is talking something to you, do not interrupt unnecessarily and give clarifications. That avoids his frequency or his thoughts. So you should not avoid that. And always, when listening to the people or your prospect, you look at their eyes and don't come to a judgment without having a detailed discussion with him about his level or his level of understanding. He may know much more, but probably he may not exhibit to the you that he knows that. So you don't come to a common immediate judgment about that person. If you follow these tips, you will start being an active listener. And if you are an active listener, every buyer will be happy to receive you and talk to you. Nobody is interested in listening to your talking. So everybody is interested in hearing you talking that by those people. So you need to be an active listener first if you want to be an effective communicator. Second thing is clarity and conciseness. That means you have to, I told you already, I think in my mother tongue, I think in my mother tongue in Tamil, and later I converted it in English, which I converted, put it things. So I put it in the proper word. I cannot talk whatever I think. I have to add a filter. I need to put what words we can talk, whether the people can understand or not understand. All these things we need to work out. So this is very important. So what I am saying is you need to think, and the thinking should be have a clarity and should be exactly what you want to communicate. So you always ensure that your communication, whether it is written or verbal, it is going to be clarity and conciseness. Adaptability. This is very important. Adaptability is many times people talk the same presentation to everyone. You should not talk to the same presentation to everyone. To the students, it will be different. To the engineers, it will be different. To the managers, it will be different. To the top people, it will be. The content can be same. But when you're talking about something like productivity increase to the managers, people will be interested. But you are talking to the management, you talk about more on profitability, more, reducing rejections, implementing systems, and how we are going to benefit. So what I'm trying to say is use the same content, talk the subject, which is adaptable for them. So this is very much important. And flexibility in communication is also increases your empathy with the people. Like people understands. Okay, you are able to change your um, explanations and make it proper to the people whom they are interested. So that gives a things. Empathy is putting yourself in other person's shoes. That means if you are looking from a workman point of view, reducing manpower, immediately the people will think that reducing manpower means they lose the job. But when you say that the what is empathy is from workman point of view, you say it by improving automation, we are going to do much more better jobs. We are not going to remove people. We are going to use the human resources for a better job. In that case, what happens is that people feel that okay, you are with them. So that is the reason of talking about empathy. And the most important is you need to collaborate with your peers before making this presentation to the customer. That means what you need to do is you prepare a presentation, share it with your team, and this just check it out whether what they want to, whether they what they understood, whether your intention or their understanding is same. If it is not that, that is means you get a feedback from them and just correct it. So this is much important. Many times we don't do this. We go to the customer and make. But if you see big corporates or big multinational companies, they what they do is they make a standard presentations or they make a specific presentation which will be checked, validated by seniors, and then only they will come and make a presentation. So you not to be effective, you need to have a successful team collaboration and get feedback from your colleagues and keep on changing. So if I want to consolidate what we talked about non-verbal communication. Almost around 65 to 70% is because of non-verbal communication. And verbal communication is 35 to 30% is verbal communication, which includes your written communication also. Active listening, I told you, active listening is a must. You remember the build what I told you. Use the things whatever I talked and build. Be an active listener. It increases you to be a more effective communicator. Many people wrongly think that good communicators should talk, good communicators should listen. The more you listen, the more you customer will be happy. And it should be very clarity and conciseness. That means whatever you are talking should have clarity in your thoughts, clarity of what your ideas being conveyed, and it is conciseness. That means it should be sharp. And adaptability and empathy, I already told you, you need to adapt and you need to feel for look at from their point of view and while making the communication. Last but not least, you need to get the feedback and you collaborate with the team and to make it perfect. So these are the things you need to understand to be an effective communicator. But what is the benefit of effective communication in business scenario? First thing is enhanced team productivity. What is enhanced team productivity? Because the moment the communication is open, the communication is friendly, the communication is warm, the communication is clear for each everyone to understand, it increases the productivity of the people. Everyone understand what they need to do, how they need to do, and they keep on performing it. So your productivity increases. Second, you are not blaming anyone. You are not telling anything mistakes. You are trying to increase the morale of the team by a proper communication. So it increases the team morale. And most of the conflict happens in the organization because of misunderstanding. The sender want to convey something, the receiver understands in a totally different way, so they get a conflict. So this conflict will not be there if you make a effective communication. Innovation and creativity absolutely needed nowadays. See, you have seen my presentation where I use innovation and creativity. I use more of pictures rather than putting it words. So pictures will go in and grab the attention of the people. So this is a creativity. Like you need to spend time. It is not that you just do it immediately. Builds trust and credibility. Yeah, this is very important. The moment the people understand, they think that okay, the person is with me and he is working for us, he is going to help us. So that trust and credibility. Overall, these five parameters are the benefits of effective communication. I didn't talk about effective communication. What are the ways? Because that maybe you have to find out. It depends upon organization, depends upon the product and services, depends upon the customer, depends upon the place, and depends upon the medium. But effective communication, if you do this, this is a benefit you and your organization will get. So with this, I forgot to tell about the noise. What is noise is, I told you already, sender encodes a message and create a message and pass it through the channel and go to the receiver and receiver decodes it and understand the message and gives a feedback to the sender. This is a basic communication cycle. Here the noise is a disturbance which can happen in the channel, which may be example, I'm talking to you people in Zoom. My noise, possible noise can be background noise of my air conditioner or the noise or the problem with the web link or website or problems with the recording situations or problems with the broadband services also. All the problems will happen. This is called noise. So similarly, in personal hall, when you are making one-to-one presentation also, machine noise will be there, shop floor noise will be there. So you need to know that, and you cannot talk on the very low level. You need to make it, you have to adjust your communication depending upon the noise and ensure that the communication, your intention is conveyed to the receiver. So with this, I complete our small talk on effective communication, and I am now open for discussions and clarifications. So thank you so much. I sincerely thank Mr. Bala, who is my college or schoolmate, maybe 42 years before we studied together. And I thank you for him for giving an opportunity to address all of you. and we'll be happy to help you with the question answers. In case if you get a question answers later date by viewing this video, you can write a mail to me at ed@prithvigrow.com. Okay. Thank you once again. Bye.